everyone, welcome, and if you're back, welcome back. Give me a minute. I have my phone in front of me and I'm going to set my timer because I don't like long videos. We're all very busy, we have lots to do, and I don't want to go over 15 minutes. So give me 1 second, let me do that. Okay, so at some point you'll probably hear it going ding 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 ding. That's the signal for me to wrap it up. Today, what are we going to talk about? Socks! And you know what? I've tried to put, there's a lot on the table, and I've tried to put it in some order to try and get this to flow. What I'm going to talk about, I made some socks for the princess, and I can't figure out if she wore it and washed it, or she just wore it and gave it back to me because one of them made a hole. So I have to figure out a way to mend this and give it back to her because she loves these. And apparently all the people in my family love these. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out why, because this is not sock yarn. So the question is, what is this? These socks are made from this. The Karen latte cakes. And as you can see, I got it on clearance. What happened? I went to Michael's one day, and after wandering the entire store, I got to the clearance section. And they had all this yarn. You name it, they had it back there. And I saw these, and I was like, that's kind of fluffy. This will probably make a really nice baby blanket. Maybe I'll make some baby blankets. There's some babies floating about this family. The last baby I made a blanket for has babies of her own. So that didn't happen. But I was playing around with the Blue Devil. She's still the Blue Devil because she has not been formally introduced to you yet. When she's introduced, then she'll become the Blue Princess or Princess Blue. But for right now, she's still the Blue Devil. And I was like, I wonder if she could knit this. And so I threw it on there and it was going beautifully. So I started making socks. And this is what I got. I did not realize until I tried these on this week. This yarn is so soft on the feet that you even forget you're wearing socks. It is so soft and squishy. Oh my God. Now I know why everyone in the family likes socks made out of this. And I made this for, we have a princess in the family who loves blue. She's never getting these. I'm sorry. She'll have to wear the socks I made her last year from regular sock yarn. I know. I hope that doesn't make me terrible. I'll make her some other socks in the future. But these are mine. I'm sorry. These are mine. Once I tried these on and realized how soft they were, I started searching the house because I knew I'd made more. And I found that one. I found this one. So these two are finished. And I'm wearing these this winter. That's just adding to my stash for winter. And then I found, oh, look at this. These two belong together. They seem to be tangled here. Let me pull. Oh God, what did I do? Oh, okay. That's the thing when you have ends when you haven't finished. Note to self, finish the socks. These two go together. Yeah, because they have the same cuff. Look at that. They have the same heel. But I managed to pull out the toe for this one. But that's all right. Even if I have to hand knit it or hang it back on the Blue Devil and finish it, these are going to be done because this is for winter. Now this one doesn't have a, well, it has a side. I just don't know where it is. I'm going to find it. If I have to tear the entire studio space, you know, like, it's just my dining room repurposed, I am going to find the side for this, okay? So let's put this away so I can get to my next project. I'm trying to go in order. Speaking of winter, what saved me last winter were these two. For some reason, the sock maker couldn't find socks. I have made socks for myself, not as many as for other people, but I couldn't find them. But I did find these shorties. The other side is inside somewhere. And I wore this for fall and for spring. And I wore some other things, but I'm embarrassed to admit I was wearing commercial socks, sometimes tube, because that's all I could find, even though I'm a sock maker. And my favorite, I dyed this. Oh my God, I love this. I just cannot get enough of color. And even I bought this hawthorn from Knit Picks because for some reason in my head I thought they would be similar. But as you can see, this compared to this has anemia. Okay, but I think I'm going to knit a tube first to see what it really looks like, because if it doesn't have enough color for me, I'm going to dye it. Because I mean, if I wear just these, because this is what, natural purple, orange, and I see a little brown in there, people will wonder, oh my, the light just went out. I have no idea what's going on with this light. It might be time to replace it because it's from 2020 and maybe it's dying. Not a problem. In the meanwhile, I love these colors. Oh my God. Somehow I've got to get this to be like this. I'm going to work on that. Now, speaking of last winter, you know what saved me? These socks. Now, give me a minute. Let me untie so I can show you what they are. This is a sock. See how long it is? See? And see the colors? Okay. I made this sock when I was visiting Orlando, Florida. It was prior to 2020, so 2017, 18, and I was sitting there, and though terrified of the snakes and the alligators, I needed something to do. And I brought my powders for dyeing, and I brought Speedy, not the Blue Devil, I brought Speedy, and I said, let me try and make some oversized socks. So I pulled out my 72 cylinder, I pulled out all the little bits and bobs that I had dyed, because you can see I was a novice dyer. And I think this might even, instead of bits and bobs, looking at this, I think this was one hank that I dyed. Because you see the lines, you don't get that from bits and bobs. I dyed this in one go. That's what that is. Anyway, but I did have lots of bits and bobs because I went through the TSA and they were like, what is this? I'm like, dyes for powder, yarn. And I had disassembled Speedy, and the man was like, what do you have in there, bicycle parts? And I was like, no, a sock machine. So I pulled out the parts I had, I pulled out the instruction book, and he looked at me and he said, that's cheating. I was like, what? He said, my wife makes socks and she uses those four little straight needles. That's knitting. This is cheating. I said, okay, but he let me in, so I wasn't going to argue with him. Anyway, these, what did I do? I pulled out the 72 cylinder. I hung the cast on bonnet and I put a stitch. I used every other needle. And I did a few rows and I took it off, and it was the smallest sock I have ever seen. I was like, what the? I said, wait a minute. I have the largest stitch size. Why is it so small? So I took it off, I rewung it, and I started again. This time I used all 72 needles and I got this. And what I love about this is, because it's so long, I can slouch it and scrunch it down. So depending on how long the skirt or the dress or if I put it over some leggings, it looks really, the colors are so bright, it looks really awesome against dark colors. I've worn it so much that it's time to redo the foot. Because as you can see, this one, that's a hole. And I'm not doing holey socks. And I have a sock machine, I have no excuse. Oh my God, it has, one, two, three, this got to go. But for winter, I'll be ready. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut it off just above here, and I'm going to hang it. I made it on Speedy. Do I have to use Speedy again, or should I use the Blue Devil? I don't know. Speedy did a good job, so I'll probably just hang it on Speedy, okay, and redo it so I know I'll have this for winter. Oh my God, there's another hole up here. How does a sock get a hole up here? That's way up and scrunched down. That's all right. I can do what do they call it when you go over the stitch? I can't remember the name right now, but I'm going to darn it somehow because I love these, and as long as I live someplace cold, I will wear it. My next sock I want to talk about, oh, this one. I love my mummy socks. Okay? Now there's a story behind this one. Actually, there are probably two. How did this one come in? Look at it. How did this one come into being? Once again, I was on my way to Michael's. This time I went to buy fabric markers. And I got off the train, I walked to the bus stop. I'm waiting for the bus to take me to Michael's because it's outside of the city. The bus thing says the bus will be there in 15 minutes. 45 minutes later, I'm still standing there. And let me tell you, it was one of the coldest days of the year. By the time the bus came, my toes were frozen. You know when it gets to that point where either it's hurting or you don't feel it? I was like, this is the longest 15 minutes in the world. And so I said, I need a sock that's really thick. That way this never happens to me again. So I went home and I pulled out the Blue Devil and I used the yarn double for the foot part. Okay? What I didn't know is that double the sock yarn on a 64 cylinder gives you a sock that's like iron. Okay, this barely has any give, and wearing it is really uncomfortable. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it off down here, and I'm going to do it double, but this time I'm going to use the 48 cylinder on the Blue Devil, and I'm hoping with the larger stitch size and the 48 cylinder needles, I'll get a softer sock, because this is just really not comfortable. But I love it. I call my mummy socks. And when I was working on it, I was using my double points, and you can see this line here, you know, like a line between countries. Apparently, when you go from one double pointed needle to the other, you're supposed to pull the stitch so it closes. I didn't do that. I was just knitting. And what was funny, I was sitting somewhere working on my sock. Oh yes, there was a cafe where you could go and knit and drink and eat and talk to people. And I'm working on my socks. I'm feeling good about myself. And the group leader comes up to me. She looks at my sock. She looks at me and she's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making socks. And she looks at me and, you know, she gives me that look, and I'm trying to figure out, well, what's wrong with her? She knits, but I didn't realize she doesn't really knit. She crochets. And she's looking at me like, what is this? Why is it so long? And let me tell you, I did this, all of this was done by hand on the double points. Okay? And I'm feeling good about myself. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done. And she says to me, how tedious. I couldn't do this. I'm glad you're doing it, not me. Gotta say, I'm grateful for her rude but frank opinion. And I'm like, You knit flowers and I'm making socks, and I have no problem with your flowers. Well, she crochets flowers. I have no problem with your flowers, but you have a problem with my sock? Oh my God. But you know what? I'm seeing the time and my 15 minutes is about done. So there's going to be a part 2, and I will start with the mummy socks. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, and please go and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.